So, all we really learned this chapter is that Shin's dad kinda sucks. Like, way more than we could have ever imagined. We still don't even know why the JAA put a hit out on Ando at this point, but apparently it was a big enough deal for the Order to be involved of all organizations, since it's revealed that Sakamoto at this point is indeed a part of the Order and working on their behalf. According to Ando himself, the man claims that Shin is the very reason that the JAA is after him, and that Shin being born completely ruined Ando's life as the bane of his existence, and he's been on the run ever since. Now, while the assassin world is pretty harsh, and we have seen a lot of crazy things go on within it, especially under Chairman Isaki's watch, it's unclear how exactly Shin would have caused Ando to have a hit put on him. The closest event that involves children that comes to my mind is Satoru Yotsumura's situation, where his wife Shino was a conspirator working to get the JAA chairman executed and literally married and had a child with this man, all in the service of getting Isaki put as chairman. And after poor Yotsumura has to kill his wife in cold blood, he's ultimately unsuccessful in stopping the coup within JAA's ranks, which gets Yotsumura banished from the Order and placed as a high-value target under Chairman Isaki's orders. Considering Isaki is capable of manipulating entire family dynamics to that level, even sending Rihanna Kao and his own brother Uzuki after one another to ultimately result in the outcome he wanted with either one or both of them dead, I wouldn't put it past Isaki to have some influence here. His grubby little paws really have been in almost every single plot. There is also the huge theory in the community based off both Haruma and Gaku claiming to recognize Shin from somewhere, that Shin may actually be an orphan of Alamar or have some form of ties to that operation, which, funnily enough, like I just mentioned, was headed by Chairman Isaki. But we already knew that. What's interesting to me with all of this new information, what if we were all wrong about looking at this a certain way? Let's say Ando is right. Ando was put on the run because of Shin, supposedly. But he took the time to drop him off with Dr. Akuro, a supposed very good friend of his. And if Shin never got angsty, never got curious about his dad, and never escaped the lab, technically speaking, he would have been safe there and kept safe for a while. Ando then hides and lies low for multiple years and is now trying to escape the country outright, until at least we get to this point where he's almost become a comical evil supervillain dad and blames Shin for all of his problems. Almost Bon Druid level of Father of the Year. Made in Abyss fans know. It's important to note that when Ando says this, Shin directly calls him out for his BS. Shin has telepathy. Shin can tell what Ando's really thinking inside, despite what's coming out of his mouth. Shin asks his dad if he's really trying to run away again, because Shin can already tell what Ando's really thinking. Shin also has an interesting reaction when Ando claims that there's a bomb set to go off if Sakamoto kills him, Ando refusing to tell Sakamoto where the bomb might be located. Yet, when Sakamoto and Shin are escaping, Shin claims he quote-unquote forgot to read Ando's mind at that time and wasn't able to read his thoughts on the location. Sakamoto rightfully knows that's a bunch of hoo-ha, because this is literally 1 or 2 chapters after watching Shin get physically ill from being unable to turn his thought reading off at this point in his life. So, for an angsty teenager that was all down to help Sakamoto kill his dad about at least a chapter ago, he's suddenly getting cold feet and clearly attempting to deter Sakamoto from actually completing his mission now, when before, even if he was kind of getting in his way, he was like, my dad's an asshole. Now, sure, there's no way to confirm this yet, but I think based off of the Shin reactions and his sudden change of heart, his father, for one, might not actually have a bomb set to detonate, and that's one big bluff. Because be coerced into helping your manipulative dad as much as possible, forsaking 7,000 people on a cruise liner just because you want to save old daddy, doesn't really seem like Shin's MO. But even more importantly, it's possible from Ando's side, he's just trying to push Shin away, like purposefully, knowing he'll be safe either away from him at least and with Dr. Akuro. Because again, revisiting the theory that Shin's related to Alamar, if we are to assume in some way, shape, or form that that was a true theory, but Gaku and Haruma, despite having close and tight-knit bonds with all the other orphans, only really faintly remember and recognize Shin, What if it's because Shin was meant to be an Alamar orphan, but before it got too bad, Ando kidnapped his son and saved him from that fate? What if Ando is on the run because of Shin, but not because he frames it, because Shin was supposed to be an Alamar assassin like Tenkyu? Literally could have ended up just like Tenkyu, which brings everything full circle to the prison arc, and Ando drops him off at the lab and goes into hiding because that was his only option to keep Shin out of Alamar, and also now that he's on the run from the JAA, sheesh, that would almost give an asshole like Ando too much credit. And honestly, he's given us no reason to offer him this kind of gratitude, which is a lot of grace, but I think some of the grains of truth are hidden in the sands of Ando's lies. Getting back to that later, 30 minutes left on the clock until the ship leaves JAA jurisdiction, and Sakamoto can get fined or in trouble for actually killing him off of JAA rules. So, Sakamoto is on a race to find and disarm the bomb that threatens to destroy the entire cruise ship, and again, kill 7,000 people. But it's not just because Sakamoto is a superhero and he wants to save the people from the big bad villain. And it's also not because Ando's gonna set this off no matter what. It's only gonna go off if Ando dies. So this literally means that Sakamoto's mission is above all else and he has to kill his target even if it means potentially harming civilians. So the bomb is more of a hassle / obstacle in his way than it is a moral obligation, which again is just more and more evidence that Sakamoto at this time in his life was so much more jaded, so much more emotionally detached from everything going on, and it shows how much the assassin world can really change someone. I guess Sakamoto wouldn't have changed because he's lived in it his whole life, but one thing that I love is that there are still inklings of that good person underneath all of that layer, because you can see Sakamoto not only shield Shin from a colossal anchor that was about to smash through the wall and kill him, but despite it really not being in Sakamoto's best interest, he accepts Shin's feelings of not wanting to kill his dad and telling him to run, because Shin doesn't have to help Sakamoto anymore if he doesn't need to. He admits that he himself, Sakamoto, never had any parents of his own. So he's just kind of ignorant on the whole entire matter. And even though he doesn't get it, if this is what Shin truly believes and feels so strongly about, it's not right for Sakamoto to tell him otherwise. Sakamoto tells Shin to get on a lifeboat and escape with his life. But as I predicted last chapter, the woman with the space buns, and apparently the giant anchor, is indeed a problem. Her name is Akuro, and apparently she is fully infatuated with Ando, to the point that she's so jealous that Shin's trying to interrupt her time with Ando. She has no moral quandaries about choking the life out of a child and killing him right there. But thankfully, Sakamoto whips her through a wall and chases her out to the front of the ship. As a character, it makes complete sense that Shin, especially at this age, would be confused isn't even the word for it, just thrown for a loop, not understanding what he really needs to do in the situation. Again, on one side, you have every child's just innate want for their parents to love them and innate need to be with their parents. Shin has always wanted to know and be with his dad, especially since he feels like his own flesh and blood might be the only kind of people that can understand a lonely person like him. But on the other hand, no matter how much he's talked down to or insulted Sakamoto, that man stuck by him every step of the way and is always doing his best to keep him safe and look out for him. Meanwhile, Ando, even if he was the secret good guy doing the Itachi Uchiha move, Ando has put Shin's life at risk more times than one, just in this day alone. Whatever you want to say, his actions that he's taking amount to nothing but pain for Shin. Even if he believes that he's doing the right thing, sticking Shin in a laboratory with strangers that ended up cursing him with ESP his whole life due to negligence, constantly putting Shin in harm's way, just so you can hold on to this facade and pretend what you think you're doing is the right thing, it's more painful than it is worth it. Because you know what? If Ando was just telling the truth instead of lying, it'd probably be 10 times less hurtful, regardless of any of the intentions that he has behind it. But unlike Shin's father, who thinks he knows better and takes all accountability away from his son, Sakamoto lets Shin be free to make his own decision. If he wants to put all of his faith in his father, even if that puts him at risk, so be it. Sakamoto can't stand in the way of that. And even though Sakamoto claims to have never had any parents of his own, he's still wise enough to know that Shin can make his own decisions. And I know, it is kind of cheating to know that Shin always is going to end up with Sakamoto in the end. This is a flashback. But honestly, the most thing I'm interested about is the whole idea of Alamar, Ando, Isaki, all of this being tied together in some way, shape, or form, and to have this theory confirmed in some way. But even if it's not, I think it was a fun little speculation here, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens, right? Because at the end of the day, all it's gonna really amount to is just another reason for us Sakamoto fans to fucking hate Isaki more than we already do. Piece of shit. But guys, thank you all so much if you made it all the way to the end of this video. Make sure you hit that like button. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe check out the main channel or anything else to see if you enjoy or need some content to kill your time. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.